Hello and welcome to an Axiom tutorial. I have done a live stream of a full guide to Axiom, and this is a shortened down version. And I've tried to cover everything, and I will be doing timestamps so that you guys can quickly skip to the different tools that you want to use. And this build behind me is the kind of thing that you can achieve when you're using Axiom. So let's get straight into it. Let's look at this little menu down here. This is usually how people will start Axiom. They'll mess around with this because it's a really, really good tool. So this kind of does pretty much a lot of the things that World Edit does. As you can see, I've got the World Edit axe here. But this does things so much quicker. And it also will show you boxes like this. So when you're doing a selection in World Edit, you kind of have to guess, and you can't really tell where that selection is. But with Axiom, you can click on one point and click on another, and it will show you very clearly your selection box. And if you scroll, you can then move that selection anywhere that you would like. So this right now is on clone, which is why it's just copied that section. If we go on to move. Woohoo! Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome in, Vixen. Now, if we were to move this, it will move it away from its starting point. So that's just like the selection, and then like maybe the copy and paste that you would use in World Edit because you've moved it. Let me just very quickly change this to be a different color so it's a bit easier to see. Let's do that. I'll show you all that a little bit later, but let's just stay on this menu first. So yeah, you can move this. You can clone it, like I said.
What you doing?
Hey SB, welcome in. We are just doing more Axiom stuff. So we have moved, we have cloned, and now is the stack. Hey, welcome in, Otter. Thank you for the work, Ilek. I appreciate it. If we take a selection here, you can scroll to stack. And as you can see, we now have a big old box. And you can also stack in different directions as well. So let's take this. And it's just whichever direction that you would like to stack in. There we go, and we've got a big L. We've got a big learner symbol. Which makes sense because that's what we're doing. Now smear. Smear is different to the stack. It's similar, but it has some better things that we can do with it. So if I take a selection like this. Now imagine that this is a roof that you want to do. You can move it like this, and it kind of looks like the stacking tool. But then we can also move it up as well, and it will just smear from this point to this point. Like that, and it makes it really easy to do things like roofs. Which is probably what I use this most for. Or, if I've done a roof, and then I want to fill it in with something like this, I will just do a row. Terrible row. Oh my gosh. We'll just do a row like this. I picked the wrong block for this, but we'll ignore that. And then when you do the selection, it will fill in every possible block that it can. So you'll see that it's filled in this area here, but once it hits a block, it stops adding a block. So it's really good for filling in roofs. So this is why these tools are really good for just doing building and getting houses up and things like that. Now, the Extrude tool is something I've not really messed with too much, but as you can see, look, you can click on an area like this, and you can also shrink an area like this. So if I wanted to, I think this works by faces, so if I were to just click on here, it would just do this face. But if I click on here, it will get rid of it. Never mind. Let's bring that back with a Control Z. Yeah. So you can really, this is really useful. I've just never really used it too much, but I should, because it's quite useful. And then we have the Erase tool. Now, I kind of feel like this is a little bit, it's not really that important, this one, because if you take a section, you have to click delete anyway to get rid of it for this to work. Whereas if you were on the Move tool, once you've got it selected, you can actually just click delete as well, and that works. And this one is the Symmetry tool. So the cool thing about this is wherever you place this dot, the symmetry will revolve around this area here. And if you do Control R, it will do symmetry in a circle, like so. And if you do Control F, it will do symmetry in a certain direction. So you can see that it copies and it tries to make these 2 points symmetrical. And if I do it over here, nothing will happen. And if I do it over here, it will copy the symmetry of this. And it will even erase in symmetry as well. And I usually like to have these both on, like so. And then when I'm doing a tower, it's very easy to get a perfect circle. And not only that, but I only have to decorate one side. How cool is that? And now I'd like to show you this menu, which you can access by pressing the left Alt on an open hotbar space. Now, as you can see, I have all of this filled up with different hotbars that you can scroll through. So I had this hotbar here with the glass and the redstone items because I was building a redstone farm. So I had all these on the hotbar and I've saved it. You can just save different hotbars and swap between them. And yeah, it's really nice. Now, if you look at the left side here, we have all these buttons. And we'll start with the top one. This is no clip. And also you can see that when you hover over them, they do give like a little description of which each one does, which is really nice. No clip basically means that if you are doing a building and I am working on this side and I want to go to the other side, I can go through it like this. So it's kind of like spectator mode, except I can do things. Like if I double click, I will be able to still stand here and I can still build and do everything that I need to, but then I can fly through it. Right, so we'll click that off. We now have Angel Block. Place blocks in midair. It's really self-explanatory. If you are still using World Edit and you want to do a selection, you can do this. And then also maybe if you like placing leaves and you want to just start in midair. Now we have this one, which is fast place. Place blocks very fast in a controlled manner. I actually don't have this turned on, but I imagine it's Yeah. This is like the opposite of the bulldozer mode, which I have on all the time. Infinite reach. This isn't something that I use a lot, but it is handy if you've got a big build. So when it says infinite reach, it really means infinite reach. This one is the Tinker. I'm guessing you have to have an open hand. And it's basically the debug stick. No updates. Prevent triggering neighbor updates when breaking. I'm guessing this is if you are building maybe out of sand. So you can do this and then you can break. There we go. There we go. So no updates means that I can place this and it won't mess anything up. And then if you have force place on, maybe it's like where you can, yeah, you can like put this anywhere. Even though normally this would need to be on the underside of a block. The one that I use by far the most, and I think is the most useful. So, say you've built something like out of gold or out of red, and you want to change it to something else, or maybe you want to add a little bit of a gradient. You can just click and it will just replace. Like this. Just remember to turn it off because you can't place normal blocks in this mode. And then this one I have on all the time. This never gets turned off. And this is the bulldozer. And it is just basically the opposite of the fast place. It breaks blocks fast. If you're trying to get rid of a section that you've done, it just does it so much quicker than normal. Right, so we've gone through all the things on this side. Let's go over to this side, which is really, really self-explanatory. This changes your speed. So if you have ever been in the creative world and you felt really slow, you can just turn this up. We'll turn it up. It's going to be horrible, but we'll turn it up. And you can zip around like this. And it's very fast. Now this is where we get a little bit more in depth, and don't be scared, but we are going to click right shift and we are going to open this menu. As you can see, I'm actually it almost brings you out of Minecraft and puts you into like a modeling mode. It feels like a completely separate window, but once I press right shift, I'm back again, and I'm also in the place where I moved myself in that menu. And this is Magic Select. So once you click, you can see that this under tool options here, this is blank. This will always be blank until you click on one of these. And once you click on one of these, this menu is purely for just this tool. It will change with each different tool. I'd like to show you the right side first, because the right side is a little less confusing. So you can see at the top you've got your clipboard, which is just like Weld Edit. This will show when you have something selected. So I will select something and you'll see that it will pop up there in a second. And once you go into this, you can actually see all the things that I have copied and saved. I have a few different things here. And I'm able to just click on one of these, and then I've got it there, and I can place it and do whatever I want to do with it. And then underneath here, you have your palette. You can add a few blocks to these and make custom ones as well, so that these blocks will just be here for you to select. But it will also save your recently used. So unless you add like a custom one, it will always say like recently used. And now we have active block. Now you're gonna see this phrase used quite a bit in the tool options over here. And basically what it means is that the tool that the block that it's gonna be using is gonna be whatever you've got selected here. So whatever this is, so if red sand, then whenever I do something over here, it will use red sand. And then underneath this, we have history. History is really nice because it actually shows you a history of everything that you've done. And if you click on it, you can click undo to this point. This is basically like game rules. If you've ever changed a game rule in Minecraft, you'll know that you do / game rule, and then game rules come up. And you change things like if you want fire tick on or fire tick off and things like that. So yeah, world properties. And this is just a really, really quick way of doing those game rules, or some of them, without having to type in a command and then find it. So this is a really handy slider. As you can see, I am changing the time very easily, very quickly in game. Weather, you can pause the weather or you can change the weather. Now, I think I used this for when I wanted to do a build. I wanted to make it snow because I wanted to know where to put string. So that's why that's handy to me. Now player. Player invulnerability, trample farmland. So you can turn this on so you don't trample farmland when you're doing a build, which is amazing. And then you can also change if mobs are spawning. And then you've got blocks. So you can change if blocks have gravity, fire tick. You can change your random tick speed. And then this last bar at the bottom, you can see you've got speed here as well. I haven't messed with that in this menu. But you can, I think that's just like how fast you move around. Right, now let's get into this menu over here. Now, like I said, it's this box here that we're going to want to look at, because this is what each tool does and how you can manipulate that tool. So for selection, let's click on there. So this is blank. We click on selection, and the reason it's magic select is because right now the way that I have it set, it will pick the blocks based on just that one type of block. So if this were made up of multiple, it might be better to do this. So as you can see, this little weird build thing that we have here is made up of multiple blocks. If I just want to select the wood here, I can just right mouse click on the wood and it will select everything that's connected with that's made out of that material. And the reason that it will do that is because this is selected. So it says compare, so it matches the same block, ignoring block properties. If we drop down, it will change this, so you can change it to any. So it will just, as you can see, it will do a selection in like a square, of any block in that area, in that radius. You can have material, so it only picks the material like this, but we have it in block. We have it on block. The limit is the area that it will do. So if I've got a really small limit here, it will still just pick this block, but it will only pick that really small area. And if I have it up, it will do the whole thing. I usually have it up really high because I do big selections for big builds, like this. You can actually see the limit when you scroll over something like this. You can also do surface only. So I'm just gonna exit off this selection so we can stop selecting all these things, because it will just keep adding. The more you click, it will just keep adding to one selection. And as you can see, this selection menu comes up here on the right, which we'll go into more in a second. But once you have something selected and you click somewhere else, it will just keep adding to that selection. And you can actually drop down here and change that to subtract. So then when you click on something, it will subtract from your selection instead, which is nice. But yes, surface only means it will not go any deeper. It will only pick the top. So, or the top of there. Like you can see, just one layer deep it will only do. Once I have clicked on something, this box will come up and it will always be in this top right hand corner here. But these are the ones that I use, so you can do copy, and then now you can see that it comes in this top right corner here, and we've copied it. And then you can do Control V. So if you mess around with computers, you'll know that Control C is to copy and Control V is to paste. So that's basically what that is there. That's what that's done a paste. And now that you've got this and you have got these colourful circles around it, you can manipulate it however you want. You can just change it. You can move it up and down like this. Now, you can even, once you've got this and you've got a paste of this, you can see that this box actually changes from selection box to placement options. And that's when we can do things like rotate it a little bit. Rotate, and it puts it on this weird angle like this. Now say that you were doing a roof and you were doing it on an angle. That's pretty cool. And you wanted a specific rotation. Now, let's get rid of that for a second and let's do Control V again. And you'll see that it's gone back to how it originally was. And we'll move this up here. Now, if you rotate this, it's gonna rotate it perfectly 90 degrees, which is kind of how you rotate most things in Minecraft. But if you click Unlock Rotation, you can rotate it a lot more specifically and on smaller, on a smaller scale you can do that rotation. Now to me, I kind of imagine this as like a roof for a slanted house. Or say that we want to move this down and we can't quite see where the ground is. You can also do snap to ground, and it will just perfectly snap it to the ground for you. And you've also got flip, and it will do this on the X, Y, and Z. And if I click Y, it's actually flipped it upside down, I believe. Yes. Now, back to the selection menu. So we have this selected. And like I said, you can do all these things. You can fill an area that you've selected. So if you had a box, you can then fill that box. Or if you wanted to fill an area that you build in because you want to manipulate it, you can do all that as well. You can do replace. Now replace will bring up this menu here. And this will show all the blocks that are in a build. So right now it's just red because that's all we have selected. I feel like we might need a bit of a better example here. So let's select this. When I hit replace now, you can see that it's giving me multiple options. So if I only wanted to change plank, the warped planks, I will click on the warped planks, and then I can pick a different block that I want it to be replaced with. So let's try spruce, and you can see that just those blocks were replaced. Now let's move over to the box select. So magic select, box select, very similar, except you just click once with your right click, and it will kind of give you this box that you can kind of like, ooh, change like this. And then wherever you click the second time, it will create a box. And you will notice that you get these arrows here, which if you've ever done modeling, it's very similar to. And when you can lift this, and it will just manipulate the box like this. and you can even click on the opposite corner and you can pull it down like this, and it will do a selection. Whereas before, when you were on Magic Select, you just had to click and that were it, and it was selected. On this, you have to actually click enter for your selection to work, and you'll know that it's worked because you'll get these yellow lines around the box and the selection options will come up. Now, something we haven't looked into on this, and these are all kind of self-explanatory, and it's kind of something that you want to mess around with. The operations is kind of a big one, and you can see another drop-down menu that's got a lot of things, but they're not that scary, I promise. Right, so we have fill. So I could fill this area with something, and as soon as I click on it, it will just come up with a box here. And you can do fill nearest, you can do replace, type replace, set biome. I can set the biome of just this region here. I can drain an area. If this was water, I can be like, right, I just want to drain this area. I can waterlog an area. I can smooth snow an area, which will place, I believe it will place snow over all the things. So let's give that a go. Yeah. See, look, it won't fill this box with snow. It'll just place snow where it can. I'm just going to select this with the old Magic Select, and I'm going to go into operations, and I'm going to show you how auto shade works. Now, if you click on this, you'll get this other menu here, and basically it will shade my selection. So it will go from the sun's point of view, where the sun currently is, or it can also go from like the sun angle or the player position. So let's do the sun angle. And I'm gonna skip these bits here, and I'm just gonna come down to where it says automatic. And if you do custom, you can pick a set of blocks here. Now I actually have a preset for mountain. So this is my preset for a mountain, and I can auto shade this. So you see right now it's red, and if I click auto shade, it will change this selection, and it gives it a shading quality. If you're building something other than a giant L, it's actually really handy. And this top row here is basically more selection tools. So you've got Magic Select, which will do specific blocks and things. You've got Box Select, which will do a big box. And then you have freehand, where you can literally draw where you want to select. Like, oh, I want to select just this area over here. And it will do a selection for you. And again, same selection box. And then the lasso, which I really struggle with to do I really struggle with this one. I don't know how to do this one, I'll be honest with you. But you can see that it does this. So wherever you draw, and then you click enter, and it will select that area. So I can see where the application will be useful. I just find it a little hard to use, so I don't use it. Like, I can see where you can do it. It's just that I was getting a little bit confused with it. But yeah, you can see how, like, maybe you want to do like this, and then you click enter, and it will just do like this area here. I've just not used it that much, but you can see where it'd be useful for definite. Now the ruler tool. I use this for a few different things. So for example, I'm very much into doing odd centered builds, so you can get that nice pointy roof. I think most people are. So if you click on one point, and then without clicking on the next point yet, you can just see that wherever I drag this, you see these numbers, and this is telling me the distance between two areas. So if I click on here, I know that this is 26 blocks wide, which is really handy. and I can move this and be like, right, where is this? How tall is it now? And I can see that it's 36 blocks wide. But yes, the ruler, really simple tool, really powerful tool. Painter, right? This is where you start getting into painting things, and you can see just how easy it is. You can change it from sphere to cube. You can change the radius of said cube, and you can mask surface again. You can also use the active block. Remember when we talked about the active block? So the reason that I'm painting now, whatever I'm painting is granite, is because I changed this active block over here, and that's what it's currently set on. It's on active block mode. Whereas I can change it to be a tiled clipboard. So if I have a selection of, and I have it saved on my clipboard over here, when I paint it will do a tiled selection of that clipboard. You can do stamped clipboard, so if you've got a stamp saved, I believe you can do that as well. We'll go into stamp a little bit later on. And gradient. And you'll see when I click on gradient, this comes up, and you can basically you can pick multiple blocks that you want to use, and then when you try to paint, it will be hang on, helps if the radius is higher. Even number, please. But then when you paint, the gradient will be of 2 blocks now. And you can just click up, you can just click on the plus and just add different things, and then click and change what you want it to be. And you can really make some cool, weird gradients with this, as you can see. And also, something that's going to be on a lot of these tools, and we really haven't had it while we've been looking at these selection tools, is presets. Presets are really good, because if you find something that you really like if I'm really liking this gradient here, which I'm not really, but if I was enjoying it, I could do a preset and plus it, create a new preset, and I just type in here what I want this to be. This is a weird one, and I can save it, and the next time when I come around to painting, I can drop this down and I can pick either default or I can pick my weird, and it will bring it to this. Now let's go on to Noise Painter. When I click on Painter, just like the top layer was all selection kind of things, this is kind of like a few different painting ones as well. So Noise Painter. This is useful for doing terrain, and it's useful for quite a few things, but you have the normal options that you have when you're doing a brush. You've got your shape, you've got your size. Do you want to just do the surface? Do you want it to be? And then these are kind of like, so you've got noise. So noise basically means how messy you kind of want it to be, and how much noise you want to introduce to the brush. And simplex is, I believe it's kind of like the shape is these different shapes here. So you can have simplex, and this is an example of like one of the simplexes, and you can actually do randomize, and this will change. And then you can also have splatter, which you can see it changes the noise pattern. It's a little bit messier, like this. And right now, this doesn't actually use the active block, because you can see that it's stone. This uses this right here, which is block count or threshold, like this. And you can add to this as well. So if I add that, it'll add a bit of granite in there. I can change how much granite I want. Like, oh, I just want a bit of granite, and it will do that. There we go. Or I can change it to be, I want more granite. I want all granite. And I can change this to be different things as well. So Noise Painter, we've done Noise Painter. Let's move on to Biome Painter. As you can tell, it's really self-explanatory. It paints biomes. Okay, so jungle. If we paint this area here, jungle. Yeah, you can see that all this has changed to be the grass from the jungle biome. So if you're doing a build and you want to have that bright green grass, you can. The script brush. Now, I'll go into it a little bit, but it's not something I use. So the script brush can give a very specific and detailed brush that will do exactly what you want it to do, but you do have to write a little bit of script in there. So I think that's more for people that like know coding and kind of like know what they're doing. And you can get some scripts off of things like, I believe, like maybe on the Axiom Discord and things like that, that people have wrote those brushes, and you can get them. Gradient Painter. The Gradient Painter is very similar to the Noise Painter. And you have to select 2 points for the Gradient Painter. So you will click 1 point and you can see you get this draggable line. And once you click another point, you have to hold and click it, and then you have to pull it, and you will get this gradient. Now, I only have 2 things selected right now, so it's only going between these 2, but you can add more. So if we do that, we'll now have a gradient between these 2 points. And this is good for if you have a tower and you want a gradient between 2 points. It will do that for you, because you don't just paint the floor, you can paint let's go back to our weird L-shaped tower. And it will fit in the gradient between 2 points. And that's why you select those 2 points, because it will make sure it evenly spreads the gradient between them. If you select the gradient here, so that was on sphere before, but you can pick linear, or you can pick Bezier curve, which is Bezier is yeah, it's a bit messy, that one. Now let's do free draw. Now free draw is kind of like drawing, except it's terrain almost. It's 3D, it's not just 2D and flat on the ground. You can actually paint things and it will have some structure to them. So if you were doing a tunnel, for example, you could make this a little bit bigger, and you could be like, right, I want this tunnel to go over here, I want it to wrap around, and then you've got this. And you just, this has just got 2 menu, this has just got 2 things here on the options, the shape and the radius. Now let's go to the Sculpt Draw. This you will see when you place this on blocks. You can see that it's like adding a sphere of blocks onto whatever it is that you are drawing onto. And it will use the block that it's going over. So when I go onto the grass, it uses the grass. When I go onto the stone, it uses the stone. So this really is a really good way to sculpt things, because if you have a build that you've already done and you just want to add to it, this is the tool for it. And you can also invert it, which is amazing because it just does the opposite. So you can be like, right, I want this bit a little bit thicker, right, and I want this bit to go in a little bit. And it really, it's called sculpt for a reason, because you literally can sculpt your build like this. The next tool is the rock tool. Now, this is kind of like the draw tool, but because it knows that you want it to be a rock, it'll be quite a rough draw, whereas you can see this is very smooth here. We had cylinder picked. No, we didn't have cylinder picked. Okay, so this is just kind of like a cylinder, like this, whereas when you're on the rock tool, it will do a sphere. We'll put the radius up, but it will do like a rough sphere because it knows you want this to be a rock, and rocks, they're not pretty and smooth, so it tries to make it that for you. You can change this rock, so it's not giving me a perfect square, it's giving me like a rough square where this could be kind of like a rock formation for it. The Weld Tool. Again, you have all the same same things that we've seen before. You have the shape, the radius, the strength of it, the threshold. But this is for like kind of latching onto builds that already exist. So whereas the Sculpt Draw changed depending on what its block was underneath, this won't do that. This will try to latch onto the build and like, but it will only use the active block like this. So if you wanted to add to an area, that's what this is. Melt Tool. This does pretty much what it sounds like. It will melt away parts of your build. So it's kind of like the invert to the sculpt, but stronger. Stamp Tool. Now, this is really useful for trees. So let's go on here, and I don't have like a little tree select. Oh wait, I do. Fir tree. There we go. Perfect. First, you need to add either a blueprint that you have saved or clipboard. So I have this on my clipboard right now. So I've clicked that, and you can see it will add this fir tree. Now you can actually add more to this as well. So you can have like multiple different trees, and then you can click them around, and it will, if you drag it around, it will start to place them like this. So if you were doing a really dense forest or something, you could do this, and you have to be careful because it glitches out a little bit and puts some on top of the others sometimes. And then we have spacing, so you can change how you want these things to be spaced out. Place immediate, so you can defer it, so it's, I think if you do this, it will give it, so you're deferring it so that it's not placed straight away, so that you can like kind of like grab each one of these and move it like this. So that's what deferred is. So it's not placing them immediately, it's giving me selections of each of them so that I can go in there and I can change them around a little bit. Direction, top, bottom. I believe that just is the direction of where it's placing it. But say we have a mountain over here and we want to, I'm going to change that back to immediate, but we want to decorate this mountain with some trees. We can do that, and it will also, as you can see, it won't make every tree the same. It's changing the orientation slightly so that it doesn't look all the same. And we can change the radius of this as well. So the radius brush. So if I really want a dense forest, and we can change the, let's do the space in here. So look, I can really space them out if I want to. The text tool is very cool. So you just pick one point where you want it to be, and under where it says text, you type something in. So you will see that you'll get this text here. So we can change the size of this, make this quite big, or we can change the orientation of this like this. Yeah, like that. So we want, and we can also change the font of this. So what you want to do is you want to tick this off, and then you go and select font, and you can, there's a file that I can't show you right now, but when you go into Axiom, where all your Axiom stuff is, you can put fonts in there. I just made a little file and called them fonts, and now you can see that we have this cool font here, and because it's a fancy font, you kind of like, the bigger you go, the nicer the text will be. But yeah, you can put in any font in there. Now let's move on to shapes. So before, when you do the rock tool, and you could actually like click and drag and you would get this shape, the shape tool isn't like that. The shape is a singular selection. So when I click this in my world, I have this selection that I can move freely, and you have either solid or flat. So first of all, let's pick let's just stick with sphere and make it a little bit bigger so we can actually see this. Let's build a Death Star, and I want to build, first of all, this is something that's quite important. A lot of the selection areas that you do when you the sliders and things like that, you can actually click Control on there and you can make them bigger. So say I wanted this to be 100, I would have to type it in because it maxes out at 64. If I want a sphere, this is what I use it for. If I wanted to do a tower, for example, I would change it to flat. I would change it to flat and I would make it hollow. And now I have a ring, a circular ring. How cool is that? And I can change the diameter of this as well. And as soon as you start to slide this as well, it will go back to its original snap point. So like it will go back to its maxed value. So I can no longer go to 100 now. And I would have to do like Control and click in there for it to set the value. I can change the rotation of this like this. And when you do a selection and you unlock rotation, that's not on here. You'll always be able to just rotate it as much as you want, as much or as little as you want. But if you find that you've rotated it and it's too much, you can just go onto rotation and you can click reset and it will go back to this nice little circle that we have here. You can also extend to ground as well, and keep existing. So these are all things that you just want to mess around with. Paste and select, paste and copy. First, I think if I paste copy. Oh, if I do paste copy, I can actually make two. See how I'm like learning stuff as I go as well. So now I have two circles. And that's pretty much it. You can also do a separate X and Z. So if you just want to mess with the diameter, it will keep that circle for you. But if you want to do separate, you can do them one at a time, but it will mess up your circle. This is by far one of my favorite tools, and it is because I use it for so many things. It's got so many applications. So, say you want to make a tree. Right, so let's do 3 points like this. And you get the 3 separate nodes, and you can manipulate those nodes by themselves to change this shape here, this line, which is really cool. But this curve here, this will change how this acts and the kind of line that you'll get. So you've got the normal line, which I never really use. You have, this is the one that I usually use, and it's just a little bit thicker. You can also do the catenary, which, as you can see, it really changes the slackness of these lines here, and you can actually change the slackness here on this slider as well. But I use this mostly, the Bezier curve. Now, the reason you might be thinking, like, how is this handy for trees? Why can you make trees with this weird line? Well, the reason is because we can actually change the thickness of each one of these nodes and the points between them. So if we pull this up here like this, let's make a windy tree. Let's make a windy tree. If I select this node and I click override radius, I can make just the bottom of this thick, and I can then change this one, and you can see I've kind of like got a little bit of a trunk going here. And this is why it's very easy to build very big trees like this. Right, here we go. So that is the line tool. It's the path tool, right? Now the modeling tool. So the reason that the modeling tool is really good, the modeling tool is like the loft tool, if you've ever used that. So you would just click on the first row and you would do like a line like this. And we'll use a different block. We'll use stone, or it might make more sense to make it out of leaves. But where it gets really cool is where you do a second row. Now, if I click second row and I click a point over here, you guys can see that it will do its best to connect each one of these lines to this node over here. So say I place this node over here, it will kind of give me this. So this is good for a lot of applications, including if you were doing dragon wings, for example. The loft tool is what most people use for doing dragon wings, for doing materials of any kind. And that's what the modeling tool is for. Now, the Floodfill, kind of think about it as when you're doing MS Paint and you want to fill in an area of an outline that you've done. It will very much do that. If you don't have an outline, it will just do it in a massive radius, which is just ridiculous. But you want to use this for things that you've already got an outline for. And if there's a hole right there, just like in MS Paint, it will leak and it will fill everywhere. But with something that's connected, it's really easy to fill areas. And you can do this with water as well. If you've got like a riverbed kind of thing and you want to fill the layers up, you can fill it in like that. Now, let's just undo this. And let's go on to the next one, which is the FluidBall. Now, the reason that it's different from the Floodfill is with the Floodfill, you can use any item to fill that area, whereas the FluidBall, sorry, you can do in a shape, you can fill it with a fluid. So there's water, lava, and snow. So let's do lava, let's do sphere, you can do radius as well. There we go. And it just does an area here with the lava. Let's talk about elevation. This terrain will help us. So we have the radiuses, the limits. We have if we want to raise it, lower it, flatten up, flatten down. Now the cool things about these is raise. Let's just click raise here and you can see what it does. It will raise the terrain, and again it will manipulate the terrain that it's clicking on, that's underneath it. It doesn't use the active block, it just manipulates the actual existing blocks. And we'll hit the radius up a little bit higher like that. And then you've got this, which is the fall off. So this is kind of like pretty much the shape that it will lift terrain in. Look, as you can see, this is kind of just like a flat area. This is more of a curved area that it's doing. This will do it in like a point. And you can just, yeah, it's pretty much, you can tell what it does. If you have it on flatten, it will try to flatten an area. So it will change the terrain based on what you want. So if you've done like a mountain area like this and you decide, actually I want to have a little bit of a flat area up here to do a build, it will try to flatten it for you. And you can have flatten up or flatten down, which means that if I have flatten down, it will actually like take away some of the blocks. And if I flatten up, it will actually raise some of the terrain to make it flatten. Sculpt Tool is very similar. You'll see that there's a lot of very similar things to the elevation tool. But the thing about this is that once you click, you get one of these again. It's not a line like the others. It's a triangle like this, and an angle triangle. And when you click down here and you hold, you'll see this plane come into the world. And then when you move your mouse, it will only build on that plane, which is very cool. And now we've got smooth. What this is for is it's exactly what it sounds like. It will smooth out an area. So let's move this this radius up a little bit, and we'll go over this mountain. And you can kind of see that it almost makes it too smooth, which is where distort comes in. You can distort an area like this, and it just kind of like messes up a few blocks, changes them around. And then then you can go back to smooth, and you can kind of like use these two to kind of like work with each other and just kind of like change it up to something that feels a bit more natural. And Roughen kind of does the same thing as well, but you select an area with Roughen, like I'm kind of drawing it here, and then when you let go, you can see that it's really roughened up this area. And you can change the ratio and the radius and things like that. Shatter. Shatter is kind of like Roughen, except it creates all these cracks. And this kind of reminds me of like a desert. Right, Extrude. Extrude, I kind of feel like we don't need to go over this too much because I showed you it on this little menu here. The Extrude here. It does the exact same thing, really, just on maybe a bit of a bigger scale. So whichever plane that you are clicking on, it will keep adding to this. But you can also, so you can make some cool stuff, but you can also change the limit and the count. So if I wanted to put this up by 7, I can put this up by 7. If I want to shrink this by 7, I can shrink this by 7. And that's, yeah, it's really self-explanatory, that tool. And then we have modify. Now, modify is something that I struggle with a little bit, but we'll go over here and we'll have a little mess with it. So if you have a plane like this, I say a plane, if you have like a long stick like this, and you can modify this. So first of all, you have to have a selection, which is why it says missing selection. So we'll go up, we'll do a magic select, and then we'll come back to modify. And when I go over it, you can see that it brings up this tool here. Now this is something that I still need to mess around with, but yeah, see, it took that plane and it revolved it around completely in a 360s on the Y. So we'll remove that and we'll keep 360. We'll keep it on the Y. But we'll change it to 180. And it's just done like a smaller. If we pull it out here, it gives you half of a circle. It'll only go 180 around. Now, if I've changed this x-axis, you'll see that it will do it on the x-axis, which is a pretty cool way to do a tunnel, if you ask me. Do Control Z, and then we'll do it on the Z-axis, and again, it'll just do it on the Z-axis as well. If you add translation on the revolve, you can actually, and then we'll go back to on the Y, you can actually kind of like make some stairs. So as you can see, it says 7 right now. If we make that 20 and we click, it will try to revolve on this angle by 20 high. So it will still do the revolve, but it will go up until it's 20 blocks high. But now we need to talk about one of the most important things about Axiom, and that is the tool mask. Yes, there's all these things, but this is the main thing, in my opinion. You have the operations, which is the same thing that you have that I showed you before on the selection menu. You have the view, which just manipulates the UI scale and things like that. You have select, which you can select things, you can expand them, shrink them, distort them, or even smooth them out. But that's selections. You have edit, you have file. These are all the things that are affecting the actual UI themselves. Once you've got something copied, you can actually come here and you can click Save Blueprint. Operations, we went over these. There's a lot of things that this does here, which you just want to mess around with. Animate Build. I'll give you a quick rundown of Animate Build. I'm going to give myself a structure block. And I'm also going to give myself a tree. So let's do this, and let's do Control V, and let's place that tree right there. Now, I'm going to hide this structure block. This might blow your mind a little bit if you've not seen this before. So we'll go on to operations, we'll go on to animate build, and that won't work because we've not selected it. So let's select this box here, right? And we have that selected, and then when you go on animate build, you can click do animate build, and you will see that it starts to build your tree for you. But yeah, you see how it just animated this little build for me? That's really cool. Right, tool masks. Now, this is a really, really important part of Axiom. Depending on what you place here, what you drag into here, it will change the blocks that can be manipulated. So the first one that I want to show you is block. And to get this to work, if I have it down here, you'll see it's kind of grayed out. It won't work. You have to snap it to the top of here. And now this is activated. So basically, the only thing that this will affect now is stone. So I usually build out of gold. Now I have got block equal gold. So the only thing that I can affect now is gold. So if I go on this melt tool and I try to click the ground, no matter how hard I try, I cannot affect it. But if I go up onto the gold, there we go, we have, it works. So if you have got a build made up of multiple things and you only want to affect one area of it, this is what you want to use. There's different presets and things for this, and there's also examples of presets. So if you want to just mask a single block, you'll see that it's done what I did, which is just a block. If you want to do multiple blocks, it'll do OR. And if you want to like lower an edge of something, it gets a bit more complicated. The ones that I use the most are probably the Y, which means that it will only affect a block on this level. Let's change this to 33 and minimize this. And then the only thing that will be affected is the level 33. About this as well, this little box here, the reason that I minimize it by double clicking and I move it over here, is once you exit this box, all of the masks stop working. So now I can just click wherever, and as you can see, I'm making a big mess. These logic presets here are all things that you can put things inside of. So if I click and drag this and snap this, you can see there's a little slit there, and I can then add these different things like block. I can put a block in there, or I can put below in there. So what I'm saying really with this here is that I want it to be this or this for the actual mask to work. Now let's put this down here. If we do and, it needs both of these things to be true before it will work. It will check both of these things. So let's put block in again, and let's do below. And if we put in gold on the bottom and we put air here, then when I paint with this rock tool, it will work, because it'll be like, right, okay, I can work here. I'm gold underneath and I'm air on top. I can place blocks here. Whereas if I changed this to red sand, for example, I cannot paint here, because yes, there's gold underneath, but there's not red sand on top. So both of those needs are not met. I can also do not. So this is kind of like the reverse of what we were doing before. So the input must be false for the output to be true. So it needs, so if I did below, it needs to not have this below it. If we put can see the sky up here, it's gonna paint on every block that can see the sky. And then you've also got an angle mask as well, which I know is really handy, but again, I've not messed around with it, but I believe it will do, so let's do a 45-degree angle at a range of 20. It's not gonna paint on the floor here, but it'll paint on an angle. But let's change the angle, let's change it to 70 and see what that does. So now it's only like doing the top. So say this was moss and you wanted to cover the top in moss, you could get this really cool effect here. There's a lot to digest here. So it's the logic. So this is the way that it will affect it. This is what it affects. And then these are kind of like some added ones. I think I've covered everything that's important, except for maybe one thing, which is where it says main at the top here. You can actually click a window over here. So say I was doing a big build and I wanted to step back and look at it, I can do a new view, and then I could do them really close and do a new view, and then I can swap between the two, the main one and the new view. And that was everything that I know about Axiom, and now you know. I'm learning every day. I've still only just started really using this tool, and there's so much more that they're always adding to it or that I'm figuring out. So I might even do a follow-up to this video. And again, this build behind me, I actually built on stream. So if you have any questions, I stream over at Twitch and I also stream on YouTube as well, at CobbleK. I hope this helped some of you guys out there, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!